Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Policy Brief. Strap in. We're dissecting a geopolitical earthquake. Let's cut through the noise and unpack what's really happening behind closed doors. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're interested in further events. The call that shook the world. First. This isn't Trump's first rodeo with Putin. He's admitted to multiple conversations over the years, some even before his 2017 inauguration. But this time, European governments are in meltdown. Why? Because Trump bypassed Ukraine and European allies to negotiate directly with Putin, even after a follow-up call with Zelensky, which Kyiv claims went well. The panic hasn't faded. Let's dig into why. Trump's playbook. It's all about the deal. We really have to set this before we start. Trump doesn't care at all about America. Neither does he care about Ukraine, Europe, or Russia. What drives him? 2 words: self-interest. He lives in a reality of his own making. For Trump, geopolitics isn't about alliances or shared values. It's transactional. His worldview is shaped by deals, leverage, and personal advantage rather than long-term strategy or ideological commitments. Ukraine? To him, it's always been a pawn in Russia's backyard, a piece on the chessboard that can be moved, sacrificed, or ignored depending on what benefits him most. Zelensky? Their relationship has been rocky since 2019, when Kyiv refused to launch investigations into the Bidens during Trump's presidency, a refusal that Trump likely views as a personal affront. This history has left a lingering grudge, making it unlikely that Trump sees Zelensky as anything more than a tool for his own agenda. And then there's Putin. To Trump, Putin isn't an adversary in the traditional sense. He's more of a situational ally or rival, depending on the circumstances. Trump admires strength and power, and Putin embodies both in his eyes. This admiration doesn't mean loyalty, it means opportunism. If aligning with Putin serves Trump's interests, he'll do it without hesitation. Here's where things get interesting. Trump's behavior toward Russia has always been deliberately inconsistent. On one hand, he sanctioned Russia more aggressively than any previous U.S. president. Actions that would suggest a hardline stance against Moscow. On the other hand, he's repeatedly praised Putin as a strong leader and downplayed Russian aggression on the world stage. This inconsistency isn't accidental. It's chaos by design. A strategy that keeps allies and adversaries guessing while maximizing Trump's leverage in any given situation. Europe's cold sweat European leaders aren't naive. They've been bracing for this moment since Trump's November victory. Why? Because Trump has made his mantra crystal clear. Europe's security is Europe's problem. Under his leadership, America has been pulling back from its traditional role as NATO's backbone, leaving European nations scrambling to fill the void. To put it bluntly, Trump doesn't see NATO as a sacred alliance. He sees it as a bad deal for the U.S., a drain on resources with little return on investment. His message to Europe is simple: pay up or fend for yourselves. This shift is causing sleepless nights across the continent because it signals the unraveling of a decades-old security framework that has kept Europe stable since World War II. Without America's full commitment to NATO, European nations face a daunting reality. They'll need to ramp up their defense spending, coordinate their militaries more effectively, and prepare for scenarios where U.S. support might not materialize in times of crisis. But there's another layer to this story. Ukraine isn't just sitting idly by as the geopolitical chessboard shifts around it. Ukraine's 4D chess move Ukraine knows how to play its cards strategically. And buried within its victory plan is an ace up its sleeve: rare earth minerals worth an estimated $500 billion. These minerals are critical for technologies ranging from smartphones to advanced military systems. And they're in short supply globally. Trump, ever the deal maker, can't resist an opportunity like this. Suddenly, Ukraine isn't just another struggling nation reliant on Western aid. It becomes a potential business partner with something tangible to offer, a resource that could reshape its economic future while appealing directly to Trump's profit-driven mindset. Zelensky and his team understand this dynamic all too well. They know that appealing to ideals like democracy or solidarity won't get far with Trump. Instead, they're speaking his language: profit over pity, deals over diplomacy. By positioning Ukraine as a valuable player in global supply chains rather than just a charity case needing constant support, Kyiv is working to secure its place at the negotiating table on terms that even Trump can't ignore. Battlefield realities. What's actually happening? Let's zoom out. Russia's invasion? A disaster. Putin's 3-day blitz became a 3-year quagmire. Ukraine's army, stronger than ever, drones, homegrown missiles, NATO-trained brigades. Russia, burning through Soviet-era gear, recruiting convicts, and losing Black Sea warships to sea drones. But don't pop champagne yet. Ukraine's counteroffensives are grinding, not sprinting. Russia's throwing men, not tech, into the meat grinder. Casualties? Staggering. Putin's denazification farce, exposed. His constitutional claims on Ukrainian regions, delusional. The Trump-Putin endgame. Trump's endgame is simple: a deal that lets him play peacemaker. His offer? Freeze the conflict along current front lines. Ukraine keeps sovereignty claims, Russia keeps occupied land, Europe foots the bill for peacekeepers. This proposal is strategically calculated but fraught with complications. For Ukraine, retaining sovereignty claims allows it to preserve a legal and moral stance for future negotiations and continued international support. However, this approach risks creating a frozen conflict scenario where the status quo is maintained but tensions simmer beneath the surface, potentially destabilizing the region in the long term. Ukraine would also face internal pressures, as many citizens and leaders might view this as a concession that legitimizes Russia's occupation of its territories. For Russia, the deal offers short-term gains by solidifying control over occupied territories without further military escalation. Yet, this comes at a cost. Domestically, Putin would have to contend with disillusioned veterans and nationalists questioning the sacrifices made during the conflict. Internationally, Russia's reputation could suffer further damage, as its actions might still be perceived as illegal under international law. Moreover, if Trump's administration enforces tighter sanctions in case of non-compliance, Russia's already fragile economy, heavily reliant on oil exports, could face severe strain. Europe's role in footing the bill for peacekeepers adds another layer of complexity. While European nations might welcome an end to active hostilities, they would bear significant financial and political burdens. Deploying peacekeepers requires not only funding, but also coordination among EU member states, many of which have differing views on how to handle relations with both Russia and Ukraine. This could exacerbate divisions within Europe and test the EU's unity. Ultimately, Trump's proposed deal positions him as a broker of peace while shifting much of the responsibility and risk onto other players. It forces Putin into a corner where neither acceptance nor refusal comes without significant costs, while leaving Europe to manage the aftermath of an uneasy truce. This strategy underscores Trump's transactional approach to diplomacy, but raises questions about its sustainability and long-term impact on regional stability. Why this matters to you? If you're thinking this is Europe's problem, think again. A weakened NATO doesn't just leave Europe vulnerable. It reverberates globally. For instance, it emboldens China, which benefits strategically from a distracted and divided West. China's support for Russia, including economic and technological aid, has allowed Moscow to sustain its aggression in Ukraine, undermining the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity that form the foundation of global stability. Trump's transactional diplomacy adds another layer of complexity. His approach prioritizes short-term gains over long-term alliances, reshaping global power dynamics. While some countries may benefit from his zero-sum mindset by securing favorable deals, others are left grappling with uncertainty and diminished trust in U.S. commitments. Trump's focus on extracting concessions from allies, such as demanding increased NATO defense spending or threatening withdrawal, undermines the cohesion of traditional alliances like NATO. This shift in U.S. foreign policy risks creating a vacuum that adversaries like China and Russia are eager to exploit. The bottom line is that Trump's actions are not random. They reflect a calculated strategy aimed at maximizing immediate leverage, but often at the expense of global stability. Ukraine's survival now depends on Europe's ability to either step up its support or risk crumbling under Putin's pressure. The stakes go beyond politics. They touch on the future of the global order itself. Whether through weakened alliances, disrupted markets, or shifting power dynamics, the consequences of these developments will shape international relations for years to come.